12 years of operating, got a $80,000 loan. So compared to our capital base or our revenue, that's nothing. But that no bank has given us loan, yes, right? Like, it's a non-banking financial institution. Like, I believe that the government has to understand the potential that this sector has and also the risk that it is facing, right? I think we need a few exits. If the foreign investors are not coming in, we need local market like IPO. So all of these needs to open up. And the moment we trust the system, that's when everyone else will trust the system. So that change needs to happen.
Yeah, that's true. Uh, the question to Maureen actually. So Bangladesh actually don't have any anti-barrier policy actually. So how, as a local company or local brand, you protect yourself, and what your expectation, what your value proposition to the big players if there's someone already enter and or maybe in the coming days they will enter.
So as I was mentioning that we have been like fighting with big global giants. I would say that is a part of Alibaba over the period of time, and we have survived. We have survived, and we have even, to some extent, that we have even overcrossed them. This is not always. I don't think that an international player will come in and will eat us. It depends on like what we are trying to sell, what is our strategy, and secondly that what actually we can do, which they will not be able to do that with money. So, for an example, so what when we started, we thought that we wanted to build a platform which is known for a superior customer support or the service. Technically, that's something you will hardly able to buy it with money. It's more about mindset, how you want to support your customer, how you want to probably make the shopping much more convenient. Though, yeah, that's definitely it's very challenging that an international player will come in, they will put a lot of money and they will put us on pressure, they will give huge discount. So when it comes to also discount, another thing, just to add here that we have a competition council. So when not that much active in e-commerce, but there's a one. And secondly, e-commerce as a whole is less than still 1% of the product that we sell. So for an example, we are partnered with Samsung, Haier, Hisense, this kind of brand. Sometime we also want to sell a Samsung TV for 34,000 taka. We have the option to sell, but Samsung is never letting us sell that because they will never want to hamper their 99% of the market. This is a AC season. As of now, we can kind of do pricing for the aircon. Trust me, after 15 days, every brand will make us set their own pricing. If we do not follow that, so there's an agreement, they can fine us. And secondly, is that they will also stop supplying the product. The reason I was saying is that it's applicable when it's a very early stage of the company, and when you see that e-commerce itself is actually growing on a double digit, and at the same time, there's an e-commerce exclusive model. In that case, the pricing and the discounting thing happens. But when you work in a structure where the 99% market is still with offline players, uh, in that market, doing deep discounting or burning your own cash is kind of difficult, which is not compliant by the brand and also by the competition council. We have seen that during 2000, Wasimba was mentioning during 2020 and 2021 that products was being sold at 50% discount. But eventually we have crossed that phase, that kind of the fraudulent activities or the discounted phase, which can happen over the period of time in the e-commerce space.
Yeah. Thank you. So Rajiv, you already mentioned how you solved the logistic problem. I found actually e-commerce still cater 1% of total retail ecosystem. But you have an opportunity also for the 97% in the retail traditional part, because you solving not only the online part but also the offline as well. And most importantly, probably you solve the trust point. So earlier people not able to trace their product, not able to get all the invoices, and it's completely fragmented site. So how you think in coming days, more services definitely. So if you share more how Loop actually going to solve the big problem of e-commerce, that will be great.
Yeah, thank you, Ashok, for the question. So I think there is a lot to do. There is a lot more to do. I think I'm not so happy at the pace, obviously, or where we are. I think as a founder, you should never be happy. I don't think any one of us is happy at where we are at. So So yeah, we do cater mostly to the offline markets, and what we've seen is that trust is a very big thing. I think trust is a currency that we undervalue, but we have seen that change dramatically. For example, when we start right now, we carry millions of dollars worth of products for some of the biggest companies in the country, right? Unilever, you name it, even local brands, and when we first went there, I was a 29, 30-year-old kid. That's how they looked at me. It's like asking for their products as well, right? And that trust has evolved over time. Now they actually see the differences in terms of a traditional logistics company versus a digital logistics company. It's a world of difference. Like you were saying, that there is no visibility, there is no tracing, and obviously we're not where we are supposed to be in our vision. So and all of a sudden we are getting like a lot of pull demand that, okay, can you do this, can you do that? Like, for example, I was saying that our understanding of going into different areas of logistics came actually from our customers, where they're like, okay, you solved this really well, can you do our warehousing for us? And obviously we want to do a lot of these things, but we were very focused for a long time, because obviously focus is very important. But eventually, when it pent up, the pipeline pent up, that's when we started looking at outside. I think companies like Loop, and I see a lot of young faces, and I would really want you guys to foray into logistics. Uh, Logistics is not sexy. It's not. We're not making a new app. It's not, and we're not making another TikTok, or we're not making an e-commerce flashy company with a lot of marketing behind it. But it's a backbone of the entire economy, right? And if we can solve for it, the world is our, the sky is our limit. Even with so much challenges with logistics, there is double-digit growth, in e-commerce, and we've seen that it's not stopping soon, even on the offline segments. And I know I'm taking a long time, but this is the last thing, that even I'm seeing brands like Samsung, brands like Haier, they have tried to basically deliver. They've approached us to deliver in districts outside Dhaka, in Jessore, in the north. They are trying to do that themselves because they see the immense potential. They have that product. They want to, but the fact that they haven't been able to crack the distribution. I know there are few companies that have come, but it's the infrastructure is not there in that level, that they have to take a step back. I've been talking to Samsung for the longest time, and they want me to deliver their ACs in the South and North Bengal, and we have not been able to do that because we have to be focused. But that would be our next step, to basically go into a deeper understanding of their logistics. Yeah.
So now I want to ask Jeremy. So I'm asking actually for recommendation, your recommendation to our e-commerce startup founders, how they actually build themselves as an investable. That's the question. And offline, we discussing about your portfolio. You mentioned that you already got exit from a e-commerce company. So that's a big milestone, and it's a good motivation for us, definitely.
Yeah, 100%. So I think back to like the topic around like e-commerce, especially, I think, to one point, I think the very exciting opportunity I see here, especially for local founders, is really the fact that you understand the market better than anybody else, right? Rajib literally just mentioned the example of how, these mega brands are literally trying to work with him, get him to deliver his goods, etc. I think these simple act, just says a lot, because, as much as there are bigger brands outside, international brands, etc., people with a lot more money and resource, they cannot just parachute into a new market and just dump money in and expect things to work. I don't think any market works like that, which is why, our core fundamental belief, at GFR as well, is that no matter what market that we're looking at in terms of investing, we want to build a ground up relationship, and just because we don't believe that money is like everything, right? And the same concept should always apply, right, to any other big brands, etc. And I would say, the one big thing is that as much as, this there are its own challenges today, from what we chatted about, like venture funding, etc., the overall resources, etc. But I think the opportunities still remain. There is immense opportunity and value in localization, not just from product offering, but also from market understanding. And I think this is one thing that most of us, most of you in this room would have that not many other international folks who come in, they will have. So use that to your very own advantage, because that is something that you can't put a price tag to, right? No, none of these big brands are going to, hey, let's give birth to a team of people. Let's give birth to them. Let's give birth to them in Bangladesh, raise them for 30 years, and then start to employ them in our company. I don't think that ever works like that. So you guys have the local knowledge play to your advantage. And I think on the topic as well, on like venture funding, I think one of the most exciting part to really think about is, what if it's the venture capitalists coming to chase after you instead of you chasing after the money? All right. And as much as I probably shouldn't be saying this, I think that's where the new era of opportunity really is. As you're building your own startup, your own business, etc., think about growth hacking, strategies very intentionally, because growing a new business, running a new business in a new era like this is very different compared to what we would imagine 10, 20 years ago. Today you have the internet economy. That means that you can run product testing very easily. Some of the best companies that we backed at GFR, they never ever started wanting to build a product. They unintentionally talked about an idea on Reddit, and eventually, people came together and say, hey, this is such a great idea. Why don't you just come together and build this like gaming company? Right? And that's how the gaming company started. Today, they are on a pretty strong trajectory. But that's just an example of how you can run growth hacking with limited capital. Hopefully that helps to shed some light.
Yeah, thank you, Jeremy. Javed bhai, so debt financing would be options for local support to our startups for longer time. And especially where I mentioned that bank not actually come up with an idea, but crowdfunding or any debt financing new venture maybe can help. So do you think in coming days any opportunity for e-commerce companies?
Yes, first, yes, to answer your question, yes, debt financing is something which you need for growth. But at very early stage, it's difficult when they're building the business. You need the equity capital because that capital needs to be burned. Unless the positive unit economic comes in, there has to be enough contribution margin to pay your interest. So if you can pay your interest of the money that you borrow, definitely debt funding can work. We have in our portfolio at least 4 or 5 startups whom we have funded working capital, who has the positive contribution margin on the borrowed money. That is something probably at this point in time very nascent. Probably we are only probably the first one, and there are a handful of 1 or 2 other banks who are doing it. Good thing is that central bank is currently working to launch a refinancing scheme for the startups, which I think will be rolled out in a couple of months, which our honorable governor has already mentioned during the first session today. So I was working also with the central bank team who's coordinating all these things. So hopefully a large sum of fund will be rolled out from the government. And as I say, if your records are fine, if you can track that it's generating positive contribution margin, I see money flowing into the ecosystem.
Yeah, absolutely. Wasim bhai, we are very closing time. So now 1 minute for actually Chaldal. Why investor invest in Chaldal? So before you respond this question, I want to share one thing. Distribution company get distributor financing. E-commerce company also distributing product, but it's missing dot now. So do you think there is an opportunity for bank actually consider e-commerce company for particular distribution financing thing? I think Chaldal already started something like that.
Um, so, I mean, why Chaldal? I mean, I believe that grocery is broken, and it can be done a lot better. I think our roads are basically should not be used so much. I mean, instead of people, all of us having to rush to a bazaar, if everything came to your home, that's just more efficient and more. It's going to lead to a cleaner Bangladesh. And the supply chain of grocery, you can just keep working on it. So I think, and we need food, right? Like food is like fundamental to 170 million people. In terms of financing, I I am starting to have conversations where the banks are keen to actually finance a lot of this. IDLC, for example, like we run a really large program with the World Food Program, and IDLC has been financing us for 4 years now. Like basically, it's food for 150,000 people, and without IDLC's support, we wouldn't have managed to get it done because it's really large financing. But I think banks will get more aggressive, and I think we are starting to see the light of it, with especially with the policy that Javed Bhai and Bangladesh Bank and others are working on. So yeah, that's a positive development. But we also need equity financing. Like debt is not the solution. We still have a lot of room for research that we need to finance with equity.
It's just to provide extra breathing space, nothing else.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
So, Maureen, why investor invest in Pickup?
To be very frank, is that we're converting a ready market to an online market. So, for an example, when it comes to online, so the first perception is e-commerce is that is a digital commerce. Is a similar the way that we go to the shop, we buy a product, we order online, and get the same product delivered at doorstep. So as the market is a kind of like as we are converting the ready market. So for an example, the market that we work with, electronics, appliances, and mobile phone, which is a $9 billion market, and that's actually where 65% of the market is still unorganized, where 30% is the brand and the big retail like Transcom, Butterfly, and everyone. So what we are doing now is that we are actually converting that market into online. Just to add here, in the past 2 years, we have been focusing into electronics and appliance, and we have saved every year only from Aircon at least $300 million from everyone. Because the TV that you used to buy from a traditional retail store for 79,000, you can buy that for 50,000 now, just showing that this is the price Pickup is selling. We have saved that money from everyone, and we have pushed the reason that I was saying that what now we are trying to do is that we actually build a bridge between the manufacturer to the end customer. Customer sometimes, like as I was saying, that is a 1% customer who are purchasing online, but rest of the not the 99% customer, but rest of the 50% customer takes the advantage of online because it's a price comparison site as well. This is a price benchmark that, for an example, 2 years back, one Gree AC used to be sold at 80,000 taka. I'm sure now you can buy that for 65,000 taka, and that all credit goes to all the e-commerce companies who have been like pushing that this is the price.
Yeah. So Rajiv, same question. Why investor invest in Loop?
So yeah, I mean, as a person, as a Bangladeshi, I'm not okay with my country being on number 88 in the logistics index. I think we should do way better. I think we should be in the top 20 in the world, given how much we have scaled. And honestly, if I gave up my Canadian passport for this, and if I can basically take it up to that is my motivation to basically change the way we do logistics in this country. I don't want to see, our goods get stolen on the Dhaka-Chittagong highway. I don't want a buyer from H&M finding out and opening their cartons in Italy and figuring out that instead of garments, there's something else like stones and rubbles being put in because a syndicate is stealing thing because our logistics system is broken. We've done a lot of hard work to change that narrative, but there's a lot of work to be done. And I think once it is done, we can empower a lot of companies and ecosystem as a whole. So it was a painful journey, of course, but I recently, from 2023-24, we've been profitable as a company, and that's how we survived.
And like you said, there's a lot of opening doors that with banks and financial institutions. It's not at the pace that we want. Of course, it's not. But and like we're beta positive as well. So and I think, but fundamentally, there is a lot more to be done. And like Wasim Bhai said, that's not why I gave up my Canadian passport to be beta positive and make a little bit, $30,000-$40,000 a month, and I'll be happy with it. Because fundamentally, I wouldn't be satisfied about the potential what we could have done. I would, that would not help me sleep better at night, right? So I think fundamentally we're a mission-driven company. We have done a lot, but there's a lot of more things to do, and we're ahead of a lot of people because people don't want to do logistics because it's not sexy. So I think that's a good enough reason for you to basically come invest in Loop, and change the narrative of this country for sure.
Thank you. Jeremy, because I am a moderator, so I cannot express PriyShop. So why investor invest in PriyShop as a your portfolio company?
I feel like this was a trap that I was walking into knowingly. Okay, jokes aside, I think for us, Prio Show was a very exciting team that we met. I think it was also a team that we had to deviate from like our initial thesis. As we kind of like shared earlier as well, we are digital media, entertainment, and consumer focused fund. Prio Show is like consumer, but then a little bit further away because I think they are a platform that works with MSMEs. I think what is interesting to us is that we think that investing in the emerging market is not so much about having one thesis and only sticking to that thesis purely. I think for us, as you are going to new markets as well, it's also important to adapt the thesis of the fund to the maturity of the market and where we see opportunities coming from. So that's exactly what PrioShop is to us. We see a lot of similarities of the MSMEs and consumers. Micro merchants and consumers, they are very, very similar in many, many aspects. Of course, fundamental business activity, etc. That's like quite different. But I think that's where we really see a lot of the opportunities are. And like my first kind of like huge sharing point was that, hey, like when I first came into Dhaka for the very first time, I could really sense that, wow, it's amazing how the country, how the economy still works. Because as someone who has, example coming from, Singapore, I lived in the Bay Area for a little bit. The systems, the processes are very different. Not exactly in the case where it's good or bad, but it's just very different. But just having been through that entire process and witnessing the way the economy works, we really see how maybe a platform like PrioShop could really positively impact the society, most importantly, and bring about real tangible value to individuals. Through what I would say is kind of like a trickle down effect, right? Make the lives of MSMEs better. The people who MSMEs work with them, MSMEs customers, they will also benefit from that as well as a spillover.
Thank you. So I will get check from Javed Bhai definitely. So Javed Bhai, my question actually to you: why invest Bangladesh and why now?
I think I said it earlier. Second most densely populated country, you have the ecosystem, whatever is required. You have a fantastic payment system. Logistics are being gradually, I would say it's getting better. Internet penetration is high. So the way of doing business or delivering products is now getting redefined. And there are a lot of opportunities. The businesses will operate at a different scale. So this is the trust people and invest your money.
Thank you so much. It was a great pleasure to discuss with you and had a great panel. And we found lots of insightful information, especially the booming ecosystem of e-commerce. E-commerce, as earlier I mentioned, that e-commerce is not just a platform; it's complete ecosystem. It's bring logistics, it's bring fintech, and gradually it's booming. So now we already have a unicorn in our fintech side, mobile financial service Bikash. So when Bikash actually booming, that means the digital transaction will booming. So another site actually, as Rajiv mentioned, that already logistic infrastructure is ready, warehouse service is ready. So different kind of services already coming up. So I believe in coming days, e-commerce will booming. So whoever any interest in emerging market and especially in e-commerce sector, please meet our founders here. They also stay the day long. Happy to chat. Thank you so much. Thank you.